I'm actually sitting with the CEO of Lynk Co, Alain Visser, and he's going to talk about today something very interesting. And you guys might not have heard of Lynk Co, but we're going to get into what this company is all about and why they're so radically different. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Alain. And can you just start to dive into this immediately about who Lynk Co is? And you actually are the founder of this company as well. You brought this idea to the table. So give us a little bit of background of the company itself.
Yeah, well, so I've spent my whole life in the car industry, 36 years to be exactly, and I was actually quite shocked by the fact that when I look back at my whole career, even though I thought I was quite proud, but in the industry itself, I thought nothing has really changed. The car industry is still designing, engineering, manufacturing cars, shipping them to dealers who then sell and repair them. And when you see what's going on this planet, the consumer trends are evolving at a speed that is insanely interesting. And this massive industry doesn't do anything. It claims to be so innovative, but let's face it, it isn't. The only thing that is changing is the product, is the car. And you even there might say a smartphone has evolved more in the last 10 years than a car in the last 50 years. So I thought there is something to be changed. Secondly, I was also quite shocked that suddenly this industry claims to be sustainable because we have electric cars. But let's face it, if your business model consists of selling a product that stands still for 95% of the time, because that's a true statistic, then your car may be as electric as you want to, it's still not a sustainable business. So we said we need to have maybe less cars on the road, but utilize them better. So I started the idea of Lynk Co, which basically consists of, we have a super cool car, but we're not going to talk about that. We sell an experience, a mobility experience, which is a 1-month contract, costs in Europe 550 euros, everything included, insurance, maintenance, etc. And as part of and that's a 1-month contract, so you only sign for 1 month, everything is included. But during that month, you can also, within the technology of our car, the app and the software, you can share the car. By sharing the car, you reduce your costs, but you also contribute to a more sustainable footprint because there's less cars, utilize more. The car is available in 2 colors, black and blue, no options, brutally simple. So the configurator is black or blue, and that's it. And we said, let's not do dealerships. We have clubs, and they're really cool places. We'd love to show some pictures of it. You'd be impressed because it's nothing to do with a dealership, and it's where people hang out, and it's really becoming popular places. We have 10 now in Europe, and we're expanding. So it's very different. We're creating a lot of new friends and we're creating new enemies because we go against the flow, but it makes fun.
You're completely cutting out the middleman with the dealerships. So that is definitely probably going to shake up things, especially if eventually you might plan to come to the United States. But let's talk a little bit more about those clubs. To me, it seems very fascinating that someone has such a rich OEM background, which, like you said, can sometimes feel maybe a little too traditional and like it's not creative enough. How did you come up with this idea to, I would say, pitch more to a really young demographic and create this club atmosphere? And what can you do at the clubs?
Yeah, I think for me it's really indeed this feeling of, after all these years in the industry, seeing that nothing is really evolving. Dealerships are improving, and look, I'm not criticizing dealerships, I'm criticizing the OEMs who still are protecting these type of old ways of selling, of bringing a car to a customer. So for me it was really like, damn, there's so much going on, I see so much happening, why not in my industry, the industry that I'm working? And then it may sound religious, but it's true. My 2 sons, who are millennials, asked me some years ago, so Dad, what have you been doing your whole life? Because I've been traveling a whole lot. And then the brutal answer was, I sold cars. And that doesn't give you a lot of warm feeling inside. So I said, I need to change something. And then I think that altogether, it hasn't happened one day. Over years, I had this idea, and then I got the opportunity to start a new brand back in 2015, I went with that idea to the owner, Geely, and I have to admit the first time they looked at me as if I had been smoking the wrong substance, because of course it's quite radical, but I have to give credit that they said, okay, start it, look at it, start developing it. And I was alone. I started a company completely alone, and now we're quite a big group and it's going really, really well. So I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to prove that something very different can work.
Could actually succeed, yeah. So how many countries are you operating in now?
Yeah, we're now in 7 countries within Europe. That's Belgium, Netherlands, Sweden, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so, do you have plans to come to the United States?
I would say plans would be a big word, but definitely ambitions. It's my big dream, and I'm convinced that this model wouldn't work everywhere in the US, but I think particularly in the biggest areas, the most important areas, I think it would be a big success. And so I'm very committed to do this, and my big ambition to do that. It's going to be very different. The legislation in the US is very different, and it needs also to be said, we don't sell via dealer network, but the Volvo dealers also in Europe are the ones servicing our cars, because of course cars need to be serviced, and there we have, of course, use an existing dealer network.
Yeah, and you're not selling, you're doing a subscription-based model,
exactly.
So it's a very interesting play there.
Yeah, that's why we often say we're the Netflix of the car industry, and I like that comparison, because also Netflix, they distribute programs, but they also make their own programs, and we offer mobility, but we also have our own car. So I think the comparison is quite good, particularly also as it's a 1-month contract.
Now, the parent company is Geely, and they are a huge Chinese automotive manufacturer that has an umbrella full of different brands. And I think that they are doing a great job of choosing or acquiring brands that have a particular experience that follows along like a lifestyle or a very significant differentiation that makes them stand apart. So it makes sense to me as to why they would choose to move forward with the adoption of your plan. But since Geely owns all these car companies, Polestar, Volvo, Lotus now, what would you say, I could probably guess what you would say is the biggest advantage of working with a company that is working with so many different brands, leveraging the different technology, but can you talk a little bit about the relationship with the parent company?
Yeah, so it's definitely the owner, just like Volvo and Lotus and Polestar, as you rightly said. The main source of this company is, of course, then the product. We can tap from the infrastructure, both in terms of manufacturing and engineering. So our car is actually based on the same platform as a Volvo XC40 or the Polestar 2. So it's a solid, really good car. And that, of course, you have the advantage that you can tap from those available resources. When it comes to the business model and the business we run, it's fully independent and it's fully separate, which gives it, of course, its unique flair. And I would almost dare to say that given our business model, Lynk Co within the Geely Group is a bit seen as I would almost say the wild horse in the stable. It's so really an experiment of not only the car, but much more than the car. People in the US, of course, don't know Lynk Co, but in Europe, I think people will be surprised we don't talk so often about the car, because our main thing is, despite the fact that the car is so good, is the way we utilize the car in our business model. We don't just sell it.
So the car right now is a plug-in hybrid.
Correct.
What are the plans in the future going all electric?
Definitely full electric, and I think those who doubt that the future will be full electric are either stupid or naive or both. So I'm absolutely convinced that the electric car is the future, also for us. I would have preferred to even launch the brand in Europe with a full electric car. The reason why we didn't is purely the charging infrastructure. If you only offer one car, which is our plan, and to keep it super, super simple, if you only have one car, then I think the electric car today is not the ideal situation for a family with one car. I don't know the situation in detail in the US, but in Europe, in a lot of countries, the infrastructure is not good enough. So as soon as that infrastructure improves, we will be ready, because as you know, within that group, electrification is not a problem. And then we will also offer our full electric car.
They have a lot of products under that umbrella to be able to offer an electric platform. Now, here at the Consumer Electronics Show, there was also a Zeekr that I saw that was on display in the Mobileye booth. And it looks familiar to your design that you have in the 01. So can you talk a little bit about like the overlap there a little bit of the two brands?
Yeah, and I would say that the Zeekr brand is a much more tech brand where it's really about the car, whereas in our case it's more about mobility experience. Zeekr is much more affiliated to the product and the technology as a pure electric brand, performance brand. The car, the 001, indeed has a lot of similarities with the Lynk Co design language, because as you may know, it was initially also planned to have this car for Lynk Co. In our business model, however, we need more smaller cars because our customers are city people, are very urban. And then it was decided to use that car for the Zeekr brand, which is much more in line from a size, but also from a technology point of view with the Zeekr brand. And you will see the Zeekr brand as it is being launched across the world. It is already launched in China as a much more, or shall I say, technology-affine car company rather than our, which is much more lifestyle and experience driven. Yeah.
Sure. And then, but you do have some digital integration, right? You have an app that people can control, and they can actually, that's what they utilize in order to share the car. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have an app, a Lynk Co app, and the software in the car in the app is very simple. So you basically, when you are a member, you have the choice to make your car shareable. So you pay 550 euros per month, but if you share your car, you reduce your cost. And we actually have customers now in Europe that make money on a monthly basis. As absurd as it seems, but we're of course happy with that. And we think the more you share, the better. Currently 20% of our cars are being shared, which we are quite happy with, because sharing in Europe, I think a bit as in the US, is still in its child phase. So people need to adjust to it. But I always say, look, if it has become normal to share your house to strangers, Airbnb, then how big is the step to share your car? So I think it's only a matter of time. It will come. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the closest thing that I've seen to a subscription type model like you have is Care by Volvo. But even your subscription plan kind of takes it to the next level. So can you explain a little bit more in detail as to how all those tendrils work with sharing the car?
Yeah. So I think, I almost feel that the name subscription has a little bit been abused in the car market. Very many of the subscriptions are what I would call short-term leases. Our case, it's really only 1 month. But on top of that, within that month, you as a subscriber can share your car. You don't have to, but you can share it. You can share it to anyone, but you can also share it with like your friends. So what happens now in our case is we have people, for example, in Berlin, where there's 3 friends who all 3 say we need a car, but we don't need it all the time. And they just pay 1 subscription, and via the app, they share the car amongst the 3 of them. So they pay each 150, 170 euros per month, and then they use the car just to share it amongst only the 3 of them. So it's a lot of variances of opportunities that exist within that model. And that's all within the car and within the app. But the sharing is free. We don't force it. You decide whether you want to share or not. But yeah, it's got a lot of advantages.
Interesting. And you can kind of go into a more like micro view of it where you can select it in certain time frames too, right?
Exactly. So I would love to show it on the app. My car is now parked in the airport in Sweden. I would put it on sharing, and I would say from now till then, and I decide the price like Airbnb, and then somebody who looks for a car in Göteborg in Sweden will see all the cars that are shareable and will decide based on the price and what period takes it. Then you get a code, and with that code on your smartphone, you open that car, my car, and you drive it. So you don't need to exchange keys. It's quite simple.
It makes it very simple and even better experience for the people, so that it's a seamless transaction.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So what do we need to do in order to get Lynk Co to the United States? What wheels do we need to grease?
Well, I'm very excited. I'm convinced that this would work in the US. Not for everybody. There will be still a majority people want to buy, lease a car, and that's fine. We're not saying we're better than others. We just say we think there's enough people who want something else. And for those people, we are there. But yeah, we want to now really perfection it in Europe, make it really fully present in Europe, and then come to the US. There's no specific plans on it yet, but a very strong ambition from my point of view.
Now, as far as culture and community goes on the more corporate side of things in your business, can you talk a little bit more about the experience of what kind of employees you're hiring, but also then on the consumer side?
Yeah, so from an employer point of view, I'm very proud of the fact that we are recruiting a lot of new people. I started this company alone. We're currently about 900 spread across these 7 countries. And actually 80% of these people have never worked in the car industry. They come from fashion, they come from retail. So, because let's face it, the car industry has no experience with retail. We outsource that to dealers. So I had to bring these people in from companies like Starbucks, etc. So we have 80% of people never worked in this industry. We have also very uncommon in the car industry, 50% women, which
Incredible.
I'm very happy with. And so it's quite a young, dynamic team. When we look at our consumers, the average age of a car buyer in Europe is about 55. Our average age is, I think, currently 42, which means a lot younger, but it means also we don't only have the 25 millennials or Generation Z, we also have people of 65. It's not a matter of age, it's a matter of mentality, and I would say mental age.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got a young one, it seems like, if you came up with this idea. But those clubs, let's go back to talking about that. What happens in those facilities? And I've noticed that from the pictures that I've seen, that each one is a little bit different.
Yeah,
so
they are.
How do you get to that point where you're determining what these look like and who's in control of the decisions of each location?
Well, I'm very involved in the clubs because they, for me, are the physical evidence of I personally believe you can create a company, a business online, but you can't create a brand online. You need physical experience and touch and smell and feel. And so we thought, I personally see the clubs as the physical evidence of the brand, creating the experience. I always say you can copy a product, you can copy a service, but you can never copy an experience. Yeah. So the clubs are there to build that experience. We have about 10 now in Europe, always in the main cities, very central. We want them to be where our customers are, which is not where dealerships are, which is usually outside, where real estate is affordable. We go really downtown, smaller spaces. We have 1 car per club, so the rest is bar, is really entertainment. We sell gear, all sustainable products. And I see the clubs as really marketing expense more than distribution network. They're open 7 days a week. We have evening events that can go from yoga to a DJ to a cocktail mixer. So it's quite fun, and they've become quite popular. They are wild. I would love to see you, to show you some of the clubs. They're really wild. People come in and think, what the heck is this? And then suddenly discover there's a car. And they're all different. I love the project. I get involved with it myself very personally because it's so important because it is the brand. We decided that we don't go for a McDonald's concept where all the stores, or in our case clubs, look the same, but there's a red thread. For example, we have a yellow sofa in all of them. We have 3-4 elements that have the same. I think if you would see all 10 of them, you would immediately recognize it's Lynk Co.
Sure.
But yet almost everything is different, but it has the same feel and it's quite wild.
Yeah. You keep saying that. I got to experience one of these times. With these clubs, I'm going to actually be coming to Europe here this year in 2023. Do you have any of them opening in new locations?
Oh yes, we do. Actually, well, depending on when you come, we're opening one in Germany now this month, but then we're going to Paris and Madrid still in the end of the first quarter. So I would happily invite you to any of those, and I'm sure you're going to be quite thrilled.
Yeah, that'll be a blast. And to see the difference between, the ones that I've already seen online and what could be implemented in these new locations is really cool.
Yeah, I would love to invite you and hope to see you at one of our openings soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for watching this latest video, and please explore more of what Lynk Co has to offer. I'll put a link in the description below. But until next time, drive Fly, ride, go electric.